Hello and greetings for the day, everyone. It is so nice to see you all here. We are always very grateful for your participation in our events. My name is Sana Ahmed and I am the Faculty Outreach Advisor at Extreme Labs. We are really excited to be hosting our first webinar in the MCT webinar series starting in the month of April. The topic for today's webinar is Day in the Life of an MCT Metrics That Matter Deep Dive. We will be hosting a couple of other webinar series in the coming weeks and months. Please look for the details on our website. We are so honored to have Ms. Callahan host these webinars for us. Callahan is a seasoned IT professional with over 2 decades of experience in the industry. With a focus on Microsoft technologies, he has worked as a consultant trainer, technical writer since 1990s. Callahan has spoken at various industry events throughout her career, including Tech Ed, Ignite, and Windows Connections, sharing her knowledge and expertise with others. Callahan is a former Most Valuable Professional MVP and has authored or co-authored several books on Windows Server, Windows Client, and Microsoft SharePoint. Her contribution to Microsoft official courseware has helped countless IT professionals improve their skills and knowledge. In addition to her work as a writer and trainer, Callahan has also staffed and supported hands-on labs for numerous Microsoft events. Whether she is designing courseware, speaking at events, or supporting hands-on labs, Callahan's commitment to excellence shines through in all that she does. I would like all of you to please welcome Ms. Callahan, and without any further ado, I would like to hand over this session to you. The stage is all yours, Callahan. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Sana. That was awesome. That was a lightning run. That was a speed run on an intro, and it was brilliant. So thank you for that. We've only got a handful of people in. I don't know how many are going to be here. This is actually one of the interesting things I've been wanting to see your feedback, everybody, in the chat concerning these topics, because I have come up with 4 topics that I thought were particularly important insofar as it seems like every time new people come in or trainers who were full-time trainers at their training center closed, so they're now independent or have to take care of themselves or whatever's happened, they fall between the cracks with some of these essentials that we need to know in order to be able to be an MCT, to be aware of our benefits, to be aware of our responsibilities behind the scenes. But what I discovered when taking on MTM, because I was surprised that we weren't doing more MTM sessions like at MCT Connect or at the MCT summits or the MCT 0 days at Tech Ed and Ignite, why MTM wasn't more in the foreground. And I think there are a couple of reasons for that. And one of them is there's a variety of reason or a variety of ways MCTs use MTM. So Fred needs to come back in. Um, and so how I'm going to present this is kind of what is most relevant to me, but I have the tool up. So you can ask, where is this? What is that? What are these? And what I'd like to do is actually sort of real time get into uh, the metrics that matter management console for MCTs. And another thing is the MCTs use metrics that matter in one way, and partners use it in a different way. And they have different tools, and I am not a partner. So I might in the future, because I could get a hold of one of those just for demonstration purposes, give you an idea of the differences, because there are some settings that I would like to be able to use. I'd like to get to that I can't as an MTM, so or as an MCT. So I can show you some stuff. Oh, Fred says hello. My friend, good to meet you here. Yes, awesome. So we have a small handful of folks, and that will just be able to facilitate us being able to ask more direct questions. But it also gives me an idea of this may not have been the most popular topic to cover. And I do have 3 more topics on horizon that I thought were relevant, but maybe we could brainstorm in here if you have something in this web series for the day in the life of an MCT that you think we should do. And I can either send out a blast to everybody or post it on Extreme Labs website for MCTs or something. The ideas I have that I'd like to put into stone for the next several sessions in this series. But if you have ideas, throw them out. because now's the time. It's a small group here. We can more easily do that. So this is a day in the life of an MCT, and I'm covering essentially the metrics of matter deep dive of the essentials. Having gone into this a little bit more and gotten feedback from some people, I'm going to deep dive what I see is important. But some of you who are academics, some of you who are working in corporate training, some of you that are doing uh, a learning partner, but in a different way than I would, you might actually bring to the table a use for metrics that matter, a menu, a report that I am not using that maybe we can explore because we can communicate with each other a little bit more directly. So you heard about me. I'm Callahan. Good to see you. Been around forever. What I'm thinking about doing as our agenda, but because this is a user group meeting, and by the way, I'd asked for 90 minutes on this because I didn't, a lot of people are going to be coming in, sort of filtering in for the first 10 minutes or so potentially. And I didn't want to run long and run out. And why does my hidden taskbar keep coming out? Stop that. I wanted to be able to give us enough time for Q&A if necessary, but given some of the things that happened to me while I was prepping for this presentation, I don't have quite as rich a data as I had wanted. I'm going to turn that around. I'm going to make it a feature instead of a bug, but this may not take up the full 90 minutes or whatever. So this is sort of another one of those things for this series to get a feel for how long these actually should be. I would do want to just give you sort of some housekeeping. It is about 80 degrees here in my attic because although it's not even Easter yet, it's uncommonly warm in my neck of the woods. So if I appear to be in a hot tropical place, it's because I feel like I am. So let's start with what is metrics that matter. And critical information sheet is something that I have for them. That I'll give you a look as to how to find it, what it is, where it is. For those of you who have the means, maybe you have two screens. If you log into MCT Central, you can kind of follow me along. It's kind of along the lines of doing the learning paths where students can follow me so you know where I'm going and why I'm going there. And that sheet, that information is actually useful. Previously, I was able to contact Metrics That Matter very quickly and very easily to get anything resolved. So, and it kind of keyed off that sheet, which is casually hidden on the first page of the MCT Central website. And I also have from a previous Metrics That Matter presentation that they did, I have some slides that we should all have, you know, as MCTs, we're all allowed to go to that event, that were also informative, but not necessarily what we're looking for, particularly with the enrollment sheet. So, or with our enrollment tool, with our renewals. So this is kind of the agenda of what I'm going through. So Metrics That Matter, currently owned by Explorance. For us old timers, Metrics That Matter was an independent company that helped generate and manage courses and evaluations. You could even do some registration work in there. And they worked well for years, but they got bought by Explorance, and they're sort of different than the rest of the company. And you'll notice that if you end up looking up Metrics That Matter in Bing or your favorite search engine, and you click on it, it'll take you to Explorance, and now you're on this page that makes no sense. So some of you may have forgotten about Metrics That Matter, or you'd been working at a partner that took care of it for you, and then you needed it because your enrollment tool didn't go to it automatically like it should have when you did your renewals, and you tried to get to the Explorance page and it just didn't make any sense. No, Metrics That Matter is a tiny little division of Explorance, and I'll show you the easiest way to get there. If there are any of you that actually had an issue with trying to get in, if you actually ended up going to the Explorance page, you can raise your hand or put it in the chat because I have heard that kind of happens to some of the people. So I'm going to show you how to get into Metrics That Matter. And remember that it is free to use by the MCTs. And that's what makes Metrics That Matter useful for me, because I often have to customize courses. or I have to write custom courseware because I'm filling in the gaps between what the Microsoft official curriculum will carry or the community courseware marketplace will carry. And they don't have the content that the customer needs. So I write it because I can do that. But that means that the name of my course isn't actually listed in metrics that matter to conveniently choose it, to have it map into everything really nice. So I have to do Microsoft Technologies and name the course elsewhere. I used to be able to name the course in metrics that matter so I could choose it under the umbrella of Microsoft Technologies, but then name the course, which made it easier for me in the reports. And now I can't do that. If somebody has a tip on that, that maybe you've figured out how to do that and I haven't, please let me know. But I can create my own courses in there, listings, and then it gives me evaluations. In other words, I am working for a learning partner to offer one of their clients a custom course. Okay, so I whip up some custom courseware based on the client. I communicate with them. We figure out what's going to go on. And it's basically resold through the learning partner. They're my partner. Okay. And so because I am doing this, a lot of times the partners don't want to get involved. They don't want, and that frustrates me. Why didn't they set up the course for me? No, I had to do it in metrics that matter. So I put it up in metrics that matter. But what that does is it gives me, rich control over what's going on. But I set it up in there myself. It gives me the opportunity to do evaluations, to have that rich evaluation data in one place. I don't have to do Microsoft Forms. I don't have to use a third-party product. I don't have to use paper and then scan it in. So I kind of use MTM because I find it convenient and useful, not just because it's a necessity in order to keep your MCT or because the training centers are required to use them. No, I actually use it willingly. It's primarily for learning partners. They give the students the evaluation links, but I can do that as well. And the key, which I find is a problem for some students, is make a point of reminding them that the evaluation link closes within 10 days of the last day of class. So if they don't hit it that weekend or that following week, by the following weekend, they're bumping up against the fact that they can't do the evals at all. And everybody's busy, and sometimes they just put it off. So you might want to remind them. I have had complaints about student privacy, and I'll show you what that's about. And a reminder that this is for the new MCTs, that this is an metrics that matter evaluations are a necessity if you want to renew the following year after becoming an MCT. Congrats. So every year we need to use at least one metrics that matter class survey in order to prove that you've been teaching the Microsoft courses, to prove that your quality is at a certain rate, which I've never actually. We first started, they told us what evaluation averages we needed to have. I don't know what they are now, but I'm assuming highest is better. Somebody is talking in the chat about not having a way to add custom course name and description has been a major yes. Our Irmeen has mentioned that, so she agrees. Usually overlaps with proprietary reporting systems owned by the training centers. Yeah, is it possible to easily integrate MTM with those other systems? No. Who asked that? Constantine, I never know. I have not found an integration, but I will show you a way that you can upload at least the minimum data up into for the class, but it doesn't upload evaluations. As a matter of fact, I've never found a way to upload outside evals into MTM before. And I can see where, no, we're the evaluation product. You shouldn't be able to put other evals up there, but you can indicate the class was taught, and I'll show you that, but you can't do the evals. Best time for students to evaluate is last day of class. Yeah. MTM now has one selection called tailored training, and that's what I've been using. I've been doing the Microsoft Technologies marker. So because I do teach things that aren't Microsoft, But that's a good point. So Irmeen uses the setting for tailored training. So we'll go look at that for the rest of the presentation when I'm mostly in demos. Yeah, the 10-day window, Artan said, is a good point. He's a very new MCT. Oh, he's just 1 year old. Oh, welcome. Yeah, that 10-day is a gotcha. So it doesn't stay. Most people think you probably have 2 weeks to get a chance to do the evals. No, it's 10 days, which can be a short period of time for us who are working more than full time, have families and other obligations. So now that we've taken a look at what is MTM and gone into checking that out, you can see that I just basically don't have any more slides. Let me go back into present just on the first. Yeah, we'll go for the what is MTM, and then I'll tab out and we'll go into the Explorance stuff. So here I am, I'm on the MCT Central. You can see that I have a whole bunch of tabs up concerning this course. And so I'm just on the MCT Central website, and I think it's Arton. I may be mispronouncing your name. I apologize. Everybody's mics are off. But Arton, you should be able to get into MCT Central if you log in to your profile. If you go to www.microsoft.com/whatever language you are, location you are, language you speak, /learning/mct-central.aspx. You should be triggered to log in with your MCT email into this site. There is a bug when you go to log into this website. You will end up with, yep, you made it, Arton. That's great. The rest of us already know that website, but thank you for your helpfulness. Feel free to go there yourself. Most of us have it bookmarked or know how to enter. I was kind of just giving you the heads up. So good job. But Arton just posted in the chat the link, which is great. Every time somebody posts in chat, though, you will notice over here on my left-hand or right-hand side of my screen, the taskbar, which I hide to get more width, actually keeps popping out, and that's why. No worries. You know, it's a dynamic, chaotic situation here in the remote training world. So here we are on MCT Central. When you first log in, Arton, you will be bumped to your exam profile for some reason, and it won't take you to MCT Central. So just open a tab or navigate to MCT Central. Most of us have it favorited. I have it favorited up here so that I just hit it. So once you're on MCT Central, if you scroll down to resources, the resources bar over on the right, at the very, very bottom, you'll see MCT guide. The MCT guide is not an MCT guide. It's the metrics that matter guide. Okay, it should be MTM, but it's MCT. So if we give that a click, it will open a tab for the MCT guide for MTM. And there you go. You know, what can I say? But this is very useful. And this comes from Explorance. This comes from MTM. This is a really good resource that's kind of hidden off of MCT Central. So everybody has been teaching themselves. Everybody has been making their own notes. It's been a lonely journey. Microsoft does not have bugs, just features, says Hermine. So it's been a lonely journey for each one of us to try to figure this out like it's a scavenger hunt, which it shouldn't be. We're professional explainers, and this is inexplicable, the MCT Central in our program. It's crazy. Yes, I am sharing my screen. Fred, Sana, is everybody seeing my screen?
Yes, Callahan, it is visible.
So you can see. And Artan
Yes.
is giving me a thumbs up. Can anybody else give me thumbs up? Can you all see, you know, do a react with a thumbs up for me? Okay, I've got Constantine said yes. Jose said yes. Constantine gave me a thumbs up. Hermione gave me a thumbs up. So I'm continuing as if you guys can see what I'm doing. It's really embarrassing when I'm like, blah, 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 look over there, and the screen's black. That's not good. So this MCT guide, priceless, bookmark it, great stuff. Okay, so you can see that to start with, you need the metrics that matter links. Artan, you may not have created your metrics that matter account. So you're going to have to do the MCT online registration form. I'll bring that up in a new tab just so you can take a look at it. You can see that you will need to register, okay? And so first name, last name, email, that should be your Microsoft email, but it's not entirely required to be. But your their Microsoft certified number is the key. Your MCT number is the key to get you in. They check your number, and if it is not tied to a Microsoft certified trainer certification, you're not going to be able to get in. And then they'll check your region. Okay, so then they'll use that email to send you acknowledgement of your registration. And I do believe that you need to do some sort of thing to actually finalize the registration. So once you're registered, and that's an important thing to do, you then can figure out how to do your reporting and how to access your courses, et cetera, et cetera. So make sure you register, managing your profile. You need to go to metricsthatmatter.com, type in your username, et cetera, et cetera. You'll get to, in the beginning, you'll see that your profile is your MCT ID and your region, et cetera. So if I go to Metrics That Matter, I've already logged in. So this is going to bring up my welcome screen. So you can see that I have a surprisingly low number of enrollments and things for this year. I'm grateful that it's just the beginning of April, because I would have had a lot more in here. I had reached out to my clients to let them know I was going to be doing this demonstration and to confirm that it would be okay that I showed some of my courses just in a general report, nothing specifically about my customers, et cetera. And all of them said, yeah, that's fine, supporting the community, until about 2 days ago when I had a client they have a new manager, and the manager said no. So I had to roll back what was going to be a simple thing of just letting you see what I have registered and let you see what I am doing, and just sort of as a demonstration of the day in the life of an MCT, what I've got going on and how that looks. And instead, what I ended up doing was wiping some courses, which I don't advise. I'm just an old enough MCT that I can afford to have some fall off my um, list. And I created a bunch of fake ones specifically for this demonstration. So I have a handful of courses for this demonstration. We're going to put it, they're dummy courses. I'm going to create some more just to show you how it's done. I'm going to respond to surveys like a user with dummy emails, the whole thing. And I am risking stuff doing that because I don't know. I've tried to talk to Metrics That Matter and explore it. It's like, I'm going to be messing around in here. Please do not be alarmed. So hopefully they aren't alarmed because they didn't get back to me. But I'm going to do all this and then I will delete them after this session. And hopefully everything will go back to its normal self. And if not, it might just be, since they didn't answer me and I'm determined to do this session, that it's better to apologize after than ask permission, because I tried to ask permission or at least warn NTM that I was going to be messing around in here. And so, yeah, I don't recommend you do what I do. Don't walk where I'm walking on this, because I wiped some things out. I cleared things up. I created some dummy stuff, and this is not a toy. So don't toy in here like I'm doing just for this presentation. But because we're MCTs, because we're basically siblings in this large family, you're going to look at my stuff and go, what are you doing? How do you do that? Why are you doing that? Why is there so little here? Why is everything in your demonstration all the same thing, made on the same day for the same week? What is this? Well, it's all dummy, is what I'm saying. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted you to show a real, a real day in the life of all of this history built up over these years. But I had a client say no, and therefore it's no. So this is what I'm doing. But it does give us an opportunity to kind of break these classes and add people in and do stuff that you normally would not do. So here is my homepage. I logged in to Metrics That Matter. I didn't show you that part because you don't need to know my user account and password. Thank you. But if you had wanted to go, I'm going to go back up to the MCT guide. And if you had wanted to log in on your own, just following along, you go to www.metricsthatmatter.com. And it takes you to an Explorance page. The logo across the top will say Explorance, but the login is for Metrics That Matter. And you use the email and the password that you generated for your registration. And then you should get to a homepage very much like mine. Now, if this is the first time you've ever gone in, it might take you to your profile first. But for the most of us, it'll show us here. Okay. And you can see my recently viewed reports in the bottom left, this recently reviewed list. This will be different for you because you are different than me. So it should not necessarily match, but you can see the playing that I've been doing in preparation for this course. Across the top are some simple statistics. You can see that my average scores across the board for my courses are about 4.86. I don't know what bad is. Is 4 bad? Is 4.5 bad? Is 3 bad? Is 2 bad? I don't know. On a scale of 1 to 5, I don't know. But I seem to be okay right now with what's going on. So Constantine asked, are your personal courses for particular clients counted during the MCT renewal process? It depends, Constantine. For me, I am working through learning partners. So it's definitely Microsoft courses. Specifically for Microsoft technology, it is definitely for Microsoft partner clients and partners. I have a learning partner that I work with that does partner network training specifically for partners in the region that I do. And so this is definitely Microsoft courses. They just don't fall into the MOC bucket. And so right now they're letting me do that. Also, Constantine, if you're doing these are not personal courses, by the way. These aren't personal. These are for brokers. These are for customers. I have also done corporate clients, large companies, enormous companies who need training. Like I used to work with Corning out of West Virginia for years, and they did training at because they're an enormous facility. They had a training center, and they would work with a local training center, a local learning partner to get the labs and to get the courseware. And I would go into that corporate client and I would train on site for them. So it wasn't personal, it was professional, but it wasn't Microsoft official curriculum because the modules that were in the MOC weren't at all what the customer was looking for. And so, as Ermine had mentioned, where she did tailored classes, she probably cleverly, because we used to be able to do this at will, just choose modules from different courses along the same track to make a custom course that was more appropriate for the client, for their needs. I don't think we're able to do that anymore. Maybe partners can do it, but that is a tailored course kind of thing. That's the sort of thing that I'm doing. So I'm not really sure what crosses the line between personal course and a user group per se. Does a user group training actually qualify? I don't know. I have never challenged that because I do have paying courses through brokers and partners and corporate clients. So it's the key is MS or not MS. No, Constantine, it's not MS or not a non-MS. It's are you going through a broker, a learning center, a technical partner, or a technical college or trade school? Are you going through academic? Are you going through a corporate training center for corporations? So the key is whether or not it's Microsoft. The key is potentially whether or not it's personal training for a user group or for people in your neighborhood. But then again, Constantine, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it doesn't matter who the students are as long as you're teaching the Microsoft topics. So maybe I'm wrong, Constantine. Maybe the key is if it's Microsoft or non-Microsoft. Maybe that is the key. Are you teaching Microsoft or not? If you're teaching Adobe, if you're teaching AWS, then absolutely not. That does not qualify. That does not qualify, people. You can't teach for some third-party thingy and expect that for your Microsoft renewal. That you definitely do have, it has to be Microsoft. But generally, it's the server stuff, it's the cloud stuff, and I believe it's the Office stuff, if I'm not mistaken. Fred, um, are are you around enough? Because Fred keeps having technical problems. He keeps going in and out. Son is assisting him, but Fred does Microsoft Office. Does anybody else in here? Are you Office MCTs? How does that work? I'm assuming that that's fine. They're probably on the list. We'll take a look when we're creating a course. Speaking of creating courses, if you're a Microsoft certified trainer that's independent or working on your own courses or you're working with brokers, you might need to create your own class. Usually, though, creating a class is done by the administration of the learning partner you work for. They create the class and assign it to you, and then you accept it. And you normally get that in an email saying someone has assigned a course to you, log in to accept it. Uh, and so you can manage your classes or courses. Now, here's the thing. What's the difference between managing a course and managing a class? See, if we go to manage a class, you can see that I have a set of dummy classes here starting. Uh, I did a couple of old ones that are expired, so you can see what an expired course looks like in terms of the evals specifically. And I have a couple in here that, like, I have the one in January that's actually real. And then these top 4 are dummies, right? So you can see these courses, right? So I went and looked at courses. If you remember, go back to the home page, manage courses. Okay, courses. Are we not going there now? MTM, there you go, a little slow. And now it's empty. Oh, what? Okay, manage classes. Okay, so I guess I have classes and I don't have courses. I guess courses is now a different thing. Suddenly, I was just here a second ago. All right. I love working in the cloud. So what's the difference? It's a big difference, apparently. I was just in there and it showed my courses, but now it's looking at it as classes. So when in doubt, do classes. Also, as an MCT versus a learning partner, we can only create classes. We cannot create courses. I don't know what just happened there. So let's focus on classes, shall we? Because that's really what we teach, apparently. So if I wanted to create a class, and this is where Ermine and I were talking about the different headings. If you want to create a course, which normal MCTs working for a learning partner, you don't create the course, the learning partner does. But if you're working through a broker, if you're working remotely for a new learning partner, you may want to ask them just to confirm, are you creating this course in Metrics That Matter? And are you assigning it to me? And are you assigning it to me as an independent, or are you assigning it to me as if I were part of your training center too? Uh, that has burned a couple of people where they end up having multiple logins to see their classes because the learning partner uh, created an account for you. And so that can be a little tricky. Uh, Is Fred back? No. I believe Fred is an Excel expert, so I believe he's teaching the office courses, so he could give me an insight. He's trying to get back in. He's guest now. Uh, but Fred could let me know what's going on with the Microsoft Office crew. So having multiple accounts can make your Metrics That Matter reports at the end of the year a little challenging. Has anybody amongst the crowd, could you put in the chat, has anybody had any problems at the end of the year when you find out that you have multiple MTM accounts and each one of them are different for different partners or different clients? Because that's been a known problem. Another thing is, have you had uh, the need to merge your accounts? Have you had partners that assigned you the wrong classes, or you have on your class list assigned classes that aren't yours. That has also been a problem. I've known people who took it for granted that the administration knew what they were doing. They got a link in their email from administration saying, use this link for MTM evaluations at the end of the course, and you do it, and those evaluations aren't for you, they are for a different trainer. So you may want to take a look at those, get an evaluation for yourself, or be able to take a look at it in order to see whether or not that's actually applied to you correctly, because the information would be on there. So these are some problems when you don't have control over your own courses. So I personally like to create my own courses. My partners know this. I've been around a long time. You know, we've kind of worked out the kinks. They've accepted this eccentricity from me. Uh, and so if you're going to create a class, first you have to select the course. Okay. So if I click in here, we have many, many pages of courses. So I just click in search, and Ermine said there's tailored training. Okay, that's one of those. The problem is, as we have complained, is we no longer have a description field for what the name of that class is. Okay, so say I'm going to create a tailored training. Okay, learning method. It's going to be online because everything's online these days, right? And I have on my customer list, all I have right now is online. So I'm just going to hit online. It gives me anxiety. And the start date would be, let's have the start date be the 4th and the end date be yesterday. And I'm going to create the class. Okay. And success, it's been created. Add another class, edit this class, manage class. So you can go to edit this class, and this is the information about this class. Okay. And one of the things I didn't click on just to create the class was the optional class information, which is useful for me to tell the classes apart. But it can be a little discouraging when you find out how many students enrolled and how few of them did their evaluations. I don't know about you, but it can be kind of frustrating. So Constantine said at one point, I know I heard about such problems. I've got wrong assignments from time to time. This is back when I asked, has anybody ever had this problem? And the worst dialog box ever, I think, is referring to, Irmeen, what we were talking about with the tailored training. Yeah, because there's no scrolling. You have to click through your numbers, and they go forever and ever and ever. You just generally have to search. And even when you search, like if I were to do just Microsoft, a lot, you have 6 pages of that. Or if I do AV or AZ, you have pages of that. So it is pretty bad. She is right. It can be a challenge. Always do the search. Know what you're looking for, and then tell the search engine what to look for. So here I am looking at the details of the class so that I could potentially edit it. And under optional information, it's how many people have enrolled. So I'm going to say 16. Woohoo! Look at me. Big class, right? These days. So I have added the optional information. I've edited this class. Okay. If I go back to the home page, it doesn't say diddly about it. But if I go to manage classes, takes a little bit, it's slightly slow. It'll show tailored training. And if I do the down arrow, it doesn't say anything. Notice the acknowledgement is yes on this. The ACK is yes because I created it. So I kind of auto acknowledged. And I believe my March 29th, I have done a survey. Did I do the survey? Is that March? No, it's March 31st. I got one surveys evaluation. But you can see I'm hitting the down arrow on these just to get an idea of where it is and what's going on. When you are creating a class, by the way, and you're doing the learning method, instructor-led or online facilitated, you only have two kinds of learning methods, but you can add your own clients. So sometimes what I do, Irmeen, is I create client that actually is the class description. So I have the client name and then dash the description, so that when I know it's a tailored class, or in my terminology, I do the Microsoft technology courses, it gives me some idea. But when you're back on the homepage and you're managing your classes, it only shows the method, or I'm sorry, the default name if it's tailored training or Microsoft technology, and it doesn't let me do the custom information on the inside. Learning provider, though, that's the client. I could put in here the provider name dash the course name, or just the course name. I don't think that's the best, though, because you can remember that every one of these fields can be potentially used to filter when you're generating reports for yourself and look for things. So one of the nice things about my creating my own courses and me controlling my own MTM is I can be sure to put the data in that I need to generate the reports I want. Generally, you don't have that choice, but at least you know the fields that are in there. Okay, so that does become something that's somewhat useful. Now, when I am looking at the courses as an MCT, you might think, well, here's a course, it's the MPL 900. That's just the Power Platform Fundamentals. Well, that's enough, right? That's a class I'm teaching. It doesn't really give you much in the way of that class, the details. So if you hit the down arrow and you see the learning provider and it's your learning partner name, you may have done 14 courses for them, and it's all you get is that course name, the content provider, and then the dates in the list, the start date, end date, etc. And that's all you've got to give you an idea as to what course that was. And that's all you've got here. So this is it. This is what we have. Nonetheless, this is our management list. So if I were to want to do an evaluation for tailored training, or if I want to see how long I have before they can't do their evaluations, like maybe you have a relationship with your students, or your learning partner does, and you want to send out a quick email to all those guys, hey, remember to do your evaluation. The way to find out is under actions, and then go to summary, not edit, summary. Gives you the summary for the course, okay? Class name, learning provider, course name, location, client name, learning method, the instructor. Make sure that instructor is you. Start date, end date, the MTM ID for that, which is good for troubleshooting. And then you can see the link down at the bottom. And this is all behind my camera. The start date, end date. So the end date for this would have been the 16th under dates. So I have 10 days. The end date, the reporting date for this presentation, or for this session, as you can see, start date was 404, end date is 406. But if you go down under dates, it says 406-2023 to 416-2023. So you have 10 days from that last day to do your evals. Okay. And so if they want, I'm going to have somebody do an eval for this course right now. Privacy. The students want to be anonymous, and yet they have to put an email in. Even if they say, don't give me a follow-up survey. Even if they don't say, I want to be contacted by anybody. I want to be anonymous. Your email address will be kept confidential and will only be used to evaluate this training, et cetera, et cetera. Now, when I was messing with this months ago, I believe I could just hit start and not put the email in. And then for a while there, recently, you have to put an email in. So I'm going to hit start without putting an email in. You must add an email, but the customer doesn't want to add an email. Okay? They don't want to. All of my emails just showed up. Ugh, Edge. But you don't want to. So how do you do that? So one of the things that my students did is they put a faux email in there that had their name, but not their actual email address. There are also people who just put no at nope.com or something like that because they want to be anonymous. There is a setting for anonymity, but I can't control that from the MCT point of view. There is in the help files and in the details for learning partners concerning metrics that matter that you can theoretically make it so the student's name is not affiliated with their scores of you. So this is how they figure out who you are. So if I just as a sample, I'm going to be Joey at blurm.com. Let's call him Joey Joe at blurm.com. Start. And they don't check to make sure it's really a male. And so you can do the job type, the country, the company. And if I hit next, you didn't have to do any of that. That was not required. Overall, this training was valuable. I'm just going to give it straight fives. Everything is awesome. It was online. Notice something new, by the way, something that has changed in these evals for some of us who are older. You're going to love this. Since the learning paths were created, there's an added page to this. So I'm going to hit next. Technology worked appropriately. It was awesome. Powered by unicorns. The course material on Microsoft Learn worked effectively. Yeah, it was great. Method was effective for learning. Yeah, because I'm awesome. How would you rate the following dimensions? The content was clear. Yeah, because I did it. Was relevant? Well, I can't guarantee it was relevant to your job, but we'll say yes, because it was all unicorns, right? The labs were relevant. Yeah, because I made them so. Labs, whoa, labs were effective at reinforcing content presentation. Yeah, it was awesome. How is acknowledged class meant to be used? That's Arton. Can anybody, he just asked this in the chat, if anybody can pile in and just let him know. But Arton, just briefly, while I continue this, you need to acknowledge the class that the training center assigned to you. It's a courtesy. You'll get an assignment email when a training center assigns you a class, and then you can go into your managed classes and acknowledge them. I believe that's how that works. Irmeen or somebody, if you could give him an answer more detailed, if that, because I'm not sure if that's useful. Because I auto acknowledge all my stuff because I'm the one who creates the class, and I don't have anything from partners because I'm not showing my customer data in this presentation. I can't demonstrate that for you. If somebody in a training center, if you could give him some guidance, that would be great. Under instructor, this is a section that matters, the instructor section here in the evals. How would you rate this trainer? I was crazy knowledgeable about the subject matter. The instructor helped me understand how to apply it. Yeah, I'm all about application. Provided opportunities for me to actively participate in class. I try my best to have everybody participate. I try to acknowledge them. I try to answer questions. As a result, I gain new knowledge. Absolutely, the unicorns were great. How likely am I to recommend this? I would recommend it. Yeah, but I have a couple of friends who are allergic to unicorns. So I'd say a 9. Do you intend to take the exam? There's no exam for this unicorn powered course. And they could do comments. So in the space, additional comments about everything. Unicorns. Woo! And I can say yay under additional comments about the instructor. Best ever. Okay. And hit next. Now watch this. And then this is the post-training, post-event information. How did you first become aware of this offering? And I don't remember any of this information being surfaced to the students who didn't answer the email that was sent to them in case they wanted it. Because this is, I thought that this was like afterwards, but this is built in from what I know for the evals now, and this is added stuff. that maybe they don't care about, that might discourage them from saving. But how did you first become aware of this? I'll say through my employer, who paid for this? The student doesn't care. And to what extent did you use Microsoft Learn? Careful about this. This is where they check to make sure that you're using the learning paths. To what extent was the Microsoft Learn? I mean, this is how I interpret this. It could be that Microsoft just wants to see whether or not we're all pioneers and adventuring in our own stuff. I don't know. But to what extent is Microsoft Learn content used or referenced during the course? So I'm just going to say I mentioned it, but didn't emphasize it. I did my own thing. Actually, that's not true. I generally keep it up and point it out to people. But a lot of us are necessarily doing additional training outside the learning paths because they're not all the same good quality. Yes, I said it and I'm being recorded, but some of those learning paths are not adequate and we have to supplement it in class, not afterwards, so that the learning paths become supplementary to what we're teaching in class. And what does that mean? Every class varies greatly depending on the trainer, which was the opposite of what the Microsoft official curriculum keyed to the MCT providing it was supposed to be standardized. Learning paths are forcing us not to. Nonetheless, we're supposed to go beat by beat on the learning paths, just so you know. To what extent did you personally use MS Learn during the course? I observed my instructor referencing it and followed along, or I used it after the course as supplement, or I only accessed MS Learn to claim my achievement badge. It's actually an option. Well, that's a lot of honesty. I observed my instructor doing it, but I didn't go near it, and I have very little familiarity. So that learning path stuff is in our MTM now, in our evals, potentially. On a scale of 1 to 5, how likely are we going to use MS? How likely are they going to use Microsoft Learn in the future? They don't know the difference between MS Learn and MCTs and the learning partner. Which learn are they referring to? So I'm going to give it a 5 just to have a fully positive environment, and I'm going to hit finish. Constantine asked if this is a standard list of questions or can you change it? You can't change anything. As the person who is just simply using this as a trainer, as an MCT, you can't change anything. Nope-see, nope, nope. If I go back to the home page, and so this is a homepage everybody else has, there's nowhere in here administration, that's learning assets. You can look at courses and you can look at class links and you can do reporting tools and report settings. There's nowhere in here where we can decide our questions. These are set standard questions. These are the official evaluations from Microsoft. That's how come they can blindside us with, what is this question? This didn't used to be here. Yeah, they can update it and change it to whatever they want. It's their classes, you know? So if I were going under learning assets, I'm just trying to see if I can actually select courses. I can select class links, but not courses. So yeah, I don't think we're doing courses. What did it just do? It just selected courses. Yeah, so Fred Excel just mentioned that you can't change the courses. Yeah, you can't change the questions. The questions are the questions. So if I'm back, where was I? Yeah, I did the thank you. Just a simple thank you at the end of the eval. I'll close that tab. And so I'm going to close this course that we got. This was the Taylor course, and it should, we refresh the page, show that I have an eval. No. Interesting. Did I add it to the wrong course? No. 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 So I guess it takes a little while to refresh. I can see change only the scale and the logo for the report there. Exactly. Constantine is kind of going his own way on the MTMs. He's exploring his MTM console during the session, which is perfectly fine, right? We're all MCTs and we're all in there, and he is answering his own question that he can only change his scale and logo for the report. And I'm not even sure that all of us can do that. Yeah, we can't alter what's pre-made in here. It's a convenience for us, all this pre-made stuff, but it's also an inconvenience because we can't modify it. Constantine, you may want to contact Metrics That Matter and see if you can't buy a subscription, if you can't pay for your own. I don't think you can. I think you have to be a training center. But if you're determined, that's the way to go. And Constantine, if you want, for any reason, say you're training with your local youth center for the youth that need some training, and you want custom forms, then look at Microsoft Forms for evaluations. Check that out, because that's an easy way to go for it. And that's Constantine, right? Or was it Artyom? It was Constantine that asked that. So yeah, go check that out. That might be something for you. So this is not showing that it didn't catch my survey, which is a bummer. I wonder if it's not catching it because I didn't do a company name. It wouldn't do that, would it? Huh. Anyway, I have pre-existing classes as well that we could add surveys to, etc. But basically, what we're looking at here is the different classes that we can create or assign to us that show up under our managed classes. And it's under the managed classes. I'll go to a different class than the one we created. Under summary, that you can grab the uh, link to give the students. Also, there is a preview, and this is something that we can do. We can preview what the evaluation that the student is going to get will look like. And we can also do the QR code for each one of these links in case you want to give the students, you want to email them the QR code instead. So that's creating the classes, that's looking at the classes that you have available. And I wanted to show you some courses, like I created one for November 7th, and I actually clicked on the course directly as if I was just going to look at the details. The November 7th, if I go to its summary over on the right, you can see that the post-event button should be, yep, it's red, it's closed because the deadline for the evaluations is over. So you can see the eval. I wonder if you can see, no. I was going to see what the eval looked like from November and see if they had changed it yet, but I'm not going to, because it's probably just keying to the normal survey link, which would be whatever's the most recent. But you can see where you can't get back in and give the link back to the student months later. It's within 10 days. Now, about generating our reports, there are two ways to do the reports. Where I'm on time, I have 30 minutes, but now you can see why I wanted to go a little longer. Generating reports, it's not under data collection. Oh, no, acknowledge class is under data collection now. Who was it? I think it was Arton. Wanted to know whether or not you could acknowledge a class. So if you pre-acknowledged a class and you needed to remove it, you could reject it. You can also acknowledge selected, but I have nothing that's not acknowledged. So under data collection, acknowledge class is where you would go if you aren't going from the email that will take you here to the class to acknowledge it. Because that's generally what people do. If a training center, a learning partner sets up the course for me, I will get an email from Metrics That Matter saying you need to acknowledge this class. And then once you acknowledge, thank you, he gave me a thumbs up. Once you acknowledge the class, then it goes into your roster of managed classes. So you can get the link and see the deadline and stuff like that. So that's under data collection. And under data collection, you can also go to classes. And it takes you straight to managed classes. So there's a couple of different ways to get there. So that's under administration. Also under administration are reporting tools. You can do your benchmarks and report settings. And I believe this is where Constantine was. Yeah, you can change your logo, select your reporting logo, but we don't have anything uploaded. And you can update your settings, I believe here. So you can upload a logo and you can, change them and then update them. So I guess that's a save button. So you can upload a logo. I don't bother, because this is my back end stuff for my MTM. So I don't really have a logo there. And your learning partners and your brokers probably won't be thrilled that you would have a logo. I don't think it's just a logo to put on MTM for your own edification. I believe it might actually end up on the evals. I'm not sure. Somebody should experiment with that. And again, it's only because I haven't played with it. So somebody who is going their own way and did want to put their own logo on there may be really experienced with it. And I've been doing this for 10 years, but I haven't bothered. Anyway, so that was under administration. And then under reporting, this is what matters to us. There are two ways to do reporting. There may be more, but under Ready Reports or Data Explorer, like under Data Explorer, you can explore courses, classes, or demographic. Okay, so if we were going to do classes, you can do class reports and you can filter over on the left. If we were to not do Data Explorer, but go to reporting and do Ready Reports, here's the reports that most people who are inexperienced go to. Okay, these are Ready Reports that get sent to your email. So they get collated and processed and then sent to your email. So to me, they're not as ready as they could be. And you have to go into your email and you get a PDF and it's now in two places. So what I tend to do is under reporting, I go to legacy reports, which was what the Microsoft Certified Trainer program recommended when the enrollment tool wasn't working and it wasn't pulling from MTM your reports from MTM based on your ID key, your Microsoft Certified Trainer ID. So what we ended up doing, and I believe it's Artom, I really don't know if Arton, I am.
It's pronounced Ayrton. Sorry.
Ayrton. Thank you. You know I'm nervous and I'm stumbling over
I'm
it and I'm doing
sorry,
it
I'm
wrong
sorry.
every time.
I'm sorry.
Ayrton. See, in the real world, I would have been able to ask you and then I would have been confident for the rest of the day. Ayrton, everybody. Thank you for your kindness and stepping up in the middle of the course to let me know. Anyway, I believe because you're new, and there I just pointed out that you're new. I didn't mean to single you out, but you are a newer member of our community, and I appreciate that. You may not be aware of this legacy thing, and this is key. And Ayrton, I'm going to ask you to open your mic one more time. Have you renewed yet? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so you've done the enrollment tool. Did you have to upload your did you?
Yes.
Yes. Did you do the legacy report?
Yes.
Did
I
someone
did.
have to teach you that?
I figured it out.
You figured it out.
Right.
That's how we know you're one of ours. You figured it out. Yeah, that's what we do. Okay, cool. Well, now you know for certain and you can teach others in your area because a lot of people didn't know. Because Ayrton, the way that this actually, and I hope you correct me if I ever do that wrong, because I learn 100 names a week. The people up to this point who did the re-enrollment every year, the enrollment tool, the enrollment tool is actually the renewal tool, which a lot of people who are renewing for the first time are looking for the renew button for renewal. And no, it's the enrollment tool. You just use that to renew every year. It's enrollment. Even though you only enrolled once, you're still using that tool. But the enrollment tool always worked. You put your MCT ID in there, or you went to MCT Central, you open the enrollment tool, or you went to the Learn page, started the enrollment tool, you logged in, it pulls your data from your profile, from your transcript, whether or not you have the correct certifications, and it pulled your data from MTM, your metrics that matter, without any effort for decades. And then all of a sudden, I should say decades, but intermittently it hasn't worked for a lot of people. You know, these things are kind of buggy. They're not, you know, constantly updated and maintained. So they're a little quirky, but we're used to that because we find our own way. And so just recently we had to upload them. And a lot of people didn't know that you can do the legacy report. So what I did, and it may not be entirely the correct way to do it, is I did the class summary. Let me see if I have the class summary actually out by itself. Yeah, I already have my class summary up, I think. And I don't. So I'm just going to generate it. I must have closed that one by mistake in amongst all of this. So I'm going to do a class summary here. Oh, it's a little slow, or it's going to crash. No, it's just a little slow. Yay! So custom data range, and I'm going to go for March 1st to April 7th. That's great. I could filter by class name, which I'm not going to, but if you did a lot of AZ103s or you did a lot of something and you just want to search on those, you can see in this category, I have two results, tailored training and that March 29th Microsoft Technology, because that's the one I use for my custom courses. The date range, whether or not there's follow-up or post-event. Oh, post-event, select none. How would I do a report with none of the information in there? Interesting, but I'm going to put all of it in there. I could include the web-based self-paced stuff if that's what you generated, that's what you used as the description or type of class it was. And I'm just going to go for graphical display as word wrap. Just going to do word wrap and I'm going to search. So it's generating the report. And normally I would have a report, but I'm going to look at it this way. So I'm going to just click on the results for this class. Oh, because it's a class summary. I'm looking at a different report, getting all confused. This is the normal report you're supposed to be doing that is individual class summaries that the search field brought up based on my date range. And you choose a class, then you generate the report. It's been a long, long week. So I can include the student demographic. It's regions and company names and stuff like that, or not. And so I'm going to select the question categories. So you can choose not to do those, but I'm not going to bother to limit it. I want to see everything about the everythings. It's executing the report. It's always slightly slow. I know when I see nothing, I panic and think, nothing's there. But in fact, it's doing something. And here's the report. And look, the email name for the student is there. So when they feel pressured because they feel like it's not anonymous, it isn't. An email address is there. So if there was bad feelings between you and the student, you can know that student gave you the scores they did. And it's really hard for it to be anonymous. So if I had multiple students, it would show the different students' averages. It would just list them, all their emails, okay? Because you can't get away from that. So over on at the top, the date this was run, which is today, the learning provider, the instructor, etc. And I thought it was interesting also, the instructors co-teaching. I guess a class can be assigned to multiple trainers, which I've never really experienced with MTM before, because any multi-trainer thing I do is usually corporate. So the corporation has their own evals and stuff. And so you can actually share evaluations with someone else. So they'll show up in each other's MTMs and be part of the enrollment, the renewal process. Also queued reports, one that's both are completed because I was doing class summaries. We can also do other reports. Find a report, show all reports. Yeah, nice. I always go back to the page. But here's class analysis, summaries, comparative performance, your ranking for elements, et cetera, et cetera. You have all kinds of really interesting data here. However, I am one of those people that evaluations gives me anxiety. I really would rather not drill down because it does make me even more nervous about my skills than I am without knowing them. But for those who are newer, those who have the confidence of a mountain, who just are curious to see what's going on because it doesn't bother you, that's great. Now, I do say that, but there are courses I didn't feel super comfortable about that I want to make sure that I came across correctly and that I'm doing the right thing. Yeah, thank you. Constantine's like, that's an interesting feature to share reports between trainers. Yeah, those can show up on each other's. I'm assuming because you can have more than one. Maybe it's broken and I wouldn't know, and it only shows up on the first person on the set. I don't know because I've never done it. So that is something to think about though. Um, but if I did a class and I wasn't sure, one of the things I do is I do one of the things I do is come in here and do take a peek at the reports to see particularly what their comments are, because I had a bad feeling that didn't come across right, or I'm not sure they picked that up, or they're really upset and they're going to give me lower numbers when in fact it was the facility I was in. The heat was too high or too low. There was a whining noise and nobody could hear me. Something may have impacted, and I wanted to see those. And it's in here that you can see the details, or if you just want to do comparisons, you can. So these reports are useful. I guess what I'm trying to say as a final follow-up is metrics that matter. Everybody knocks metrics that matter. And Fred, what I did was the legacy class report. But I think what you might want to do is something that does uh, multiple courses. So you might want to try the less legacy reports. If we do the ready reports, you might want to have tried uh, instructor performance or executive summaries. But I want something that does overall reviews rather than a single class summary. Because Fred asked which report is best for the MCT renewal. And I, out of a panic, just did a single class summary because it was the minimum of what they needed. I just did the most recent class I did, which was in January, which is why it's still there for this year. And so I did the January course and just sent it off, right? So I downloaded it as a PDF and I uploaded it into the enrollment tool. And all of us, I think, did that in a pinch. We just did the legacy the course summary or the class summary. But there may be something better. I don't know. Fred, they never told us. Like everybody else, we sort of figured it out and sent it up and hope for the best. And they accepted it because they say only one class. That may change. And if it does, maybe we can ask during one of those open office things or one of our meetings, what is it? Or even send a request to support at Metrics That Matter. What is the best one of these for us to send up? But in a pinch, Fred, the class summary will work because it's what it did for the rest of us. So I hope that answered your question. But in summary about Metrics That Matter, I find it useful. I find it a single place for all the evaluations, despite the questions about the new questions about the learning paths. I find that unnerving a little bit, particularly since I'm doing custom work. We don't use learning paths at all. It's custom. And what about the people that are what about the people that are um, using the community courseware? Of course, they're not doing the learning paths. They're using the community courseware, which is still valid. The 55XXX courses, the server courses that are still valid from Microsoft and used to be Microsoft official curriculum that are now not part of the cloud path that they're going. Those aren't learning path. They're not supposed to be learning path. They're courseware that the learning partner buys for the students. So I'm not sure where those come from, but at any rate, I do get to see and I get to use the evaluations that up until the learning path questions suited me just fine. So the reports are convenient, the evals are convenient, being able to use the links are convenient. All of that is convenient. And that's kind of the point, as far as I'm concerned, for metrics that matter. It does have its quirks. I do get frustrated with learning partners who assign me classes and possibly do that wrong, or whatever, create their own accounts for me, and then I never get to use those courses in my list, so that I don't get to see those reassuring comments that were brilliant, that I really thought were great suggestions, and now I can't see them anymore because I have to surf through the accounts that the learning partners gave me and things like that. There are shortcomings, but overall, I kind of find MTM to be convenient as an MCT. So I think that I'm pretty much done with my presentation. What is MTM? I do want to mention, though, that again, that the MCT guide is really, really useful. Okay, do not, bookmark that. That has really detailed instructions. Here's something about renewal issues. Oh, reopening surveys. Reopening surveys. Oh, no, you basically, okay, go to data collection, learning events, classes, search class, click the class name, change the class end date to today. Okay, can everybody see this? I'm gonna highlight it. This I did not know. In the class, even though the class occurred more than 10 days ago, you can go to data collection, learning events, classes, click the class name to edit the class info, change the class date to today. Now, that's a kludge if I ever saw one. Also, if you're keeping track of your classes and you knew you taught that class in November, and then it shows up in this month, the following year, that could be confusing to you when you're trying to figure out what your data is. But that's their fix for if a previous class, let me go, data collection classes is the same as managed classes for the quick links. So I go to manage a class from November. Yes, I give it a click. And then I change the end date. No, the start date. What did they say? End date or start date? Change the class end date to today, and it will open for another 10 days. And I guess that might work. If I don't change the start date, it will still have started in November, but it will have run all the way to today, which means that your classes can overrun each other. You can schedule classes in the middle of another class, which I find interesting, but some of us have morning classes and night classes, so that works. So there you go. I just noticed you can do that. I'm not, what the heck? What is today? Today's the 7th. Boom. Update. And now that November class, if I go back to manage classes, let's get out of here. Now I have November 7th to April 7th. And so now I can go in and recreate the evals for somebody who wants to do an eval from 2022. That's interesting. That's really interesting. So there you go. If you could let me know in the comments if this is at all useful to you. I have a good 5 minutes or so before this is supposed to be over, I believe. And if you want to open your mic, let me know if this was at all useful. If there was anything in particular, that one thing that really was useful, I would appreciate it. And if you have any questions, now's the time. I've got this open. This is all dummy data, so we can mess around without messing with anything. So feel free.